Woo, new camera angle. Yeah, it's really bright out, and the way I usually have my camera set up, it's like right next to the freaking window. So, turn it around here so there's not a crap ton of bright glaring. But today, I have a video talking about Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. So, contrary to what you might be thinking, this isn't going to be a negative video. So, first off, I should get my thoughts out of the first two movies and the franchise as a whole out of the way. Terminator 1 is my favorite movie in the franchise. I feel like it was lightning in a bottle that just could not be recaptured. Terminator 2 took it in an interesting direction, but was still different than the first movie. Enough, you know, it still has people being chased by futuristic robots, and whatnot. But the first movie, I feel, has something about it that no other movie in the franchise has really captured. You know, and, you know, like, Terminator 2 is also very, very, very good. I haven't seen it in a while. In fact, I don't even own it because, I got all my Terminator movies out of the bargain bin at Walmart. And, they didn't have Terminator 2 for whatever reason, so, yeah, they just had Terminator 1, Terminator 3, and Terminator Salvation. But, how do you do? So, yeah, the Terminator franchise to me, like, I got into it really late into the game. Like, I got into it, I think, like, 2012, I think. You know, they were just on TV one day, and I decided to watch them. I think it was Terminator 2 or Terminator 3 that was on at the time. And, yeah, it was, it hooked me. I've always loved technology and machines, and I'm a pessimistic asshole who has always said, like, you know, one of these days the humans are just going to create a machine that they can't control, and it's going to end up killing them, and lo and behold, that's exactly what this is about. So, you know, Terminator Salvation I felt was interesting. I felt like it was good. The first movie, to me, though, that was truly bad was Terminator Genisys. It felt like whoever was writing it had a vague idea of what the fans liked about the Terminator movies, and then just, we're going to throw in a whole bunch of crap. We're going to have Terminator... What would happen if, like, a T-800 fought another T-800? The answer is T-800 loses. And I won't tell you which T-800. So, to talk about Terminator 3, though, I feel like a lot of people hate this movie because of, one reason that they hate it is like, oh, well, in Terminator 2, they stopped Judgment Day. No. No. If you're paying attention... Get out from back there. Go on. Sorry, dog. If you're paying attention to the lore of the movies, you can't get rid of Judgment Day. Not as long as John Connor is around. You see, the reason why is because Kyle Reese. He was born after Judgment Day. And in order for John Connor to be born, the Terminator future needs to happen. Because without this Terminator future, the time displacement technology will never be created, or at least won't be created while John Connor is around. And John won't send Kyle back in time, which will then give birth to John Connor. I said John send Kyle back in time, didn't I? Hopefully I did. But John needs to send Kyle back in time for John to be born. And in order for this to happen, the Terminator future must happen. So, the Terminator franchise exists on a temporal causality loop. If you don't know what this is, it's basically the future creates itself. Basically, like in Ocarina of Time, when you are in the future and you learn the Song of Storms from the guy in the windmill in the future, and he mentions that some green-clad guy in the green-clad kid in the past used this song to mess up the windmill, but you haven't learned the song, and you learn it from the future. So then you use this tip you got from the future, you go back in time, and then you do what future windmill guy says that you did. And then that's how the windmill guy learns of this song, and then he teaches it to old Link. You know, it's a closed loop. So really, Judgment Day really is inevitable. That's why I wasn't like, and I understood by the time I watched the Terminator movies proper, I understood the basics of the temporal causality loop concept. So like when I watched the movies in order, I'm like, yeah, no, this would totally happen. You know, it's like the Terminator future needs to happen, but when and where it happens, that is subject to change because of time travel. So when the T-800 says time travel is inevitable, he's not lying. I don't think he quite understands why, though, but he's not lying. It is inevitable. The other thing that people hate this movie for is dumb shit. You know, like T-800 Arnie goes to a strip club to get his clothing, and he puts on, like, he has this weird obsession with his glasses in this movie, and I think in Terminator 2 as well. Even though, like, in the first one, he only puts on the glasses because he ripped out his freaking eyeball. And he, like, if people can spot that he's a freaking machine, that kind of impedes his mission. So he puts on the glasses. Because, you know, he is a infiltration unit. He's supposed to look human. So if he stands out as a machine, that kind of gets in the way, don't you think? So, like, the glasses thing is kind of stupid. And, like, I agree, this movie has some stupid stuff in it, but it's not, like, any more stupid than the other movies. Like Arnie, in all the movies, all the characters are freaking naked, and they're machines. They don't care where they get their freaking clothing from. So, I don't really see the problem. You know, and, we got a Terminatrix, the TX, which, hunts and kills other Terminators and whatnot. And people hate that, like, oh, it's a woman, and it's like, she has, like, inflatable boobs or whatever, but if she has, like, the same type of programming, just more advanced than Arnie's, yeah, no, this is totally something that a female Terminator would do. Have you met a freaking human male? Yeah, I don't see what the problem is. I really don't. Also, like, people complain about the effects in this movie, how, like, the effects aren't nearly as good as the first two movies, or as Terminator 2. And yes, I agree. Terminator 2 had the better effects, but I don't really see that as a reason to say that this movie sucks. Just because the effects might not be as good. They're still more convincing than some of the CGI nowadays. It's really, like, comparing the CGI in this movie to the CGI in, like, It, or, like, It 2017 or It Chapter 2, is honestly an insult, because like the CGI in this is still really freaking good, because it still looks like it's somewhat there. You know, like it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb that it's fake. You know, it still moves the way it should, like when the two Terminators are bashing each other in the head with bathroom stuff. It's like, yeah, no, like if they bashed each other like that, like those pieces would fly off the way that they do and whatnot. They'd be colored the way that they are. It's still convincing enough. You know, it's more convincing than the freaking fortune cookie monsters of It Chapter 2. God damn it, the movie, the effects in It Chapter 2 fucking suck. They really do. You know, like, yeah, so I don't really see the problem. Terminator 3 is a fine enough sequel to me. Terminator Salvation is more of a prequel, to be honest, because it takes place before the events of Terminator 1. Well, a version of Terminator 1, because like it's before the time displacement technology is invented in the future, and seemingly before they make the organic parts for the T-800s. Speaking of which, something that people always say all the time is like, oh, well, like, this movie has some stupid stuff in it that doesn't make any sense. Can somebody explain to me how Skynet makes human tissue? Essentially, they build a human and then stick the T-800 inside of there. Like, can somebody explain that to me? How exactly does that work? Because, like, the way they explain it is like, oh, the T-800, it is living human tissue over a metal endoskeleton. How the hell do you build human tissue and put it over a metal skeleton? Somebody explain that to me. Did they take a human, rip out its skeleton and all the stuff that would be necessary in it, like its brain, and stick a T-800 in there and sew it up? Is that what happened? Because I don't understand how that even works. But like, I don't question it when I'm watching the movie, because it's like, oh, it's future tech, it's something like that. But like, if people are seriously gonna like nitpick this movie about its stupid stuff, the whole franchise is stupid as hell. It really is. It really is. You're just gonna have to deal with that when you deal with time travel. I mean, like, the only way that I can think of to prevent the Terminator future is if the Terminator actually succeeds in Terminator 1. Because without John Connor, the Terminators have no reason to send their Terminators back in time. And because of that, like, the way that the movies phrase it, it's like, oh, they studied like the Terminator tech from the pieces left over from the other Terminators. And that's another thing. People like, oh, well, Terminator 2 was such a perfect closing end to the series. Does anybody want to remember that he left his arm in like the gears? And in Terminator 2, it's outright established that they salvaged the parts from the original Terminator, from the T-800, from the first movie, and used that to build Skynet. And they do the exact same shit again. They leave his arm in the freaking gear thing. It's like, yeah, no, they can totally get that arm again, so, and like reverse engineer stuff. So, yeah, 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 it's, yeah. I mean, like I said, this movie has some stupid stuff. Like the TX, apparently can use her, magic, technological finger wizardry, her go-go gadget finger, and, take control of the electronics in, like, your average automobiles. And I'm like, No. From what we see, these cars don't have any kind of onboard AI. This shouldn't work. So, but, yeah, like, this movie has some stupid stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. So, yeah, that is my video talking about the Terminator movies. Specifically Terminator 3. Maybe I'll make another video like this for Terminator Salvation. I haven't seen Genesis since I saw it in the theaters. I don't think it... Somehow I feel like it's going to be worse now than it would be, than it was when I first watched it. But, yeah. This has been Super Nintendo, and until next time, I'll be in Skynet. I'll be back in the next video. Hasta la vista, viewers.